Alright guys, I'm going to record another video while I'm driving. So, the weather's beautiful right now. I hope it stays like this. And so I will say that night, a couple of nights ago, when I was worried about the weather, worried about possible tornadoes, it never did storm that bad, thank God. So hopefully we're through all that stuff now. My car's making some kind of noise. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like a hollow rattling sound. Kind of like it sounds like something's being drug underneath of it, but there isn't. I don't know. And it's just kind of random when it happens, so I don't know. Hopefully nothing wrong. Too bad. I don't even really know what to talk about, but I figured maybe I can get in the habit of recording while I'm driving, and maybe, it can get better and better. I can think of things. One thing that was kind of fresh in my mind that I thought about like a week ago or something, I've been meaning to say something about, was I just think it's amazing how God made our senses, and I was thinking about the sense of our hearing specifically, and how there's different noises. Like there can be noises that are relaxing or sounds, and there are sounds that are for like warnings. Like for example, like the tornado sirens. That's one way that we can alert each other is by sounds. There's different timers, like our alarm clock, it can wake us up. I was thinking about the birds, how sometimes in the morning, when the sun's coming up, the birds are chirping, and it can be kind of a beautiful thing. But then some people, who didn't get enough sleep or whatever, are angry. It can be, it can make them angry. It can be annoying, right? There are sounds that, can remind us of our past, that we could be sentimental. Certain songs and stuff. There's a lot to it, and I was thinking, it's not a new idea, but it'd be cool to look at the different senses in Scripture and how they are, what we can read about them. One thing with the sound, I was thinking about, like when the cock crows 3 times, when Peter was denying that he knew Jesus, and then Jesus gave him that warning, basically, that the rooster would crow. So that was something that he heard. There's just a lot of different things. I was also thinking about how interesting it would be with like the sense of smell in Scripture. Like, what can you read about the sense of smell? I know that Scripture talks about incense and stuff like that. It uses it figuratively, like the saints of the prayers are like a sweet aroma to the Lord. That's where we get the, I think it's called anthropomorphism, where human attributes are attributed to God. So like God has a, a sense of smell, basically. Where it's not really meant to teach that, but it's just a general idea that, our prayers are pleasing to the Lord. But there could be a lot of other interesting instances. I wonder if there's any instances of a bad smell in Scripture. I know there are, but I can't really think of it to mind. I know that, I don't know. Have to think about that one for a while. So we also got our sight, and so sound's one way we can communicate with each other, but then our sight's another way we can communicate. We got sign language and we got written languages. So we got sight, smell, hearing, touch. That's 4. And taste, I guess, taste. Taste in Scripture would be interesting too. I mean, all of them would be. The sight, I mean, Paul appeals to that. All the apostles, they appeal to, we saw the miracles of Jesus, and we also heard about them. Some people actually tasted the bread, the loaves, and the fishes that Jesus, multiplied. So they were able to enjoy that miracle with their sense of taste. It's pretty crazy if you think about it. What else? I don't know. I mean, touch, obviously, there's a lot of that too. And I'm thinking a lot of with Jesus and the Gospels, the lady that touched his garment or whatever that wanted to be healed. Jesus touched people and healed them. He touched the blind man. He put like spit and sand in his eyes or whatever. Made it to where he could see again. Let's see. The smell also, I guess, with the perfume that the lady put on Jesus' feet, they would have smelled that perfume. And it's interesting, if anybody listens to this, give me some examples in the comments what comes to your mind when you're like thinking about the senses in the Scriptures. I don't know. Right now, my sense of sight, I can see the sun's out bright, the grass is really green, the sky is blue. It looks beautiful out right now, and my sense of feeling, I can feel, the warmth coming through the window. I should have the windows down, but you wouldn't be able to hear me. So I don't have a mic attached or anything like an external mic. I've got the phone sitting on the driver's side seat while I'm just trying to speak loud enough to where hopefully it will sound alright. I should use a mic. I'll get something figured out with that eventually. I've got some, I'm just not using them right now for this. Oh, what else with the senses? I don't know. Or anything. You know what? This world's gone nuts. It just bothers me with all this language like transphobia and Islamophobia and bigotry and misogynistic and all this stuff. It's interesting how Jesse Lee Peterson says that there's no such thing as racism. And he just says it's good and evil, which is true, like at its most basic form. But there are people that hate people because of their skin color. And yes, that is, it's like a subgroup of the larger group of hate in general. It is just hate. But, we can understand it a little better if it's, we understand specifically hatred towards people for the race. So I don't totally agree with him there, but I see where in a general sense, yeah, I agree. But I'm just sick of the language and a lot of this stuff. Just sick at how censorship is and how everything's being pushed in the mainstream and TV and movies and commercials. Recently they've come out with this Batwoman show where Batwoman's going to be a lesbian and she's going to be a feminist and all this stuff. And it's basically going to be making men look bad. And we don't really need that. I don't think a lot of people are going to want to watch that in the first place. And I mean, it might sound misogynistic, but I think that generally the majority of comic book fans are probably males, Same goes for rock music. The same goes for video games and stuff. Those are mostly, you know, male things. It's not that women can't enjoy them, and women do enjoy them. But, you know, it's just like Gillette with their razors, where mostly, you know, it's a man's razor, and they're coming out against men in these ads. It's crazy. They're trying to define what manhood is. You know, what really makes me sick is that I'm a wrestling fan, and it's like that stuff is like creeped into wrestling, which I know wrestling overall is violent and it's fake, and I know all this and that about it, okay, but they're pushing, you know, transgenders and wrestling and stuff, and I'm like, man, really? It's gonna have to give up on all of it again. Just, I don't know. But I mean, the same goes for movies or any kind of entertainment that anybody enjoys. Really, you can't do anything without seeing something. You know, you can't look at a website without seeing an ad that has a transgender on it or something. It's just. I don't agree with Steven Anderson, but I do remember him saying, you know, in the cities you see like homosexuals on billboards and stuff. It's promoting gay marriage. Like, it's pretty much inescapable, like no matter where you go. Steven Anderson. What did he come out with recently? Oh, he was talking about, I saw him recently talking about smoking being a habit. And the first step is admitting that you're an addict, basically. Or confessing that you have the habit. I told him that he needs to confess that he's a false teacher. And it's kind of weird to me to consider smoking a habit. I think of a habit as something more natural than smoking. But, you know, that's kind of like saying, like, somebody that's a bully that punches random people, they have a habit of punching people or something. I mean, I guess in a sense, yeah, it could be a habit, but it's weird to me to say that about smoking. I don't know. But yeah, with smoking, I mean, there's a physical addiction that's involved. And there's a mental addiction with all, you know, drugs, but with some of them there's a physical withdrawal. It makes it harder. But yeah, I mean, you gotta realize that you're an addict. You gotta realize that it's a problem, and you gotta want to change, or nobody's gonna change. There's a very small percentage of people who go to a rehab or whatever and will actually sober up. I mean, a very small percentage. I've been through all that, and I've seen all of it, and, you know, a lot of people are forced to go to AA meetings or drug classes because, you know, they're court ordered to, and they just want to, they don't even care, they just want to get it over with so they can go back out and do it again. But there are people like I did where if you actually use those resources, they can be helpful. Some more than others. You know, my experience at an inpatient rehabilitation when I was younger was probably one of the best. I mean, outpatient is just a lot easier to not care about, you know, because you're free and you're still, you know, you only go to the classes for a certain amount of the day, and then you're still like out in the world the rest of the day, so it's not as helpful, but I mean, it can be helpful. But I think a lot of people just need inpatient, where you just need to go away for a few months and you know, be watched over, and a lot of them will help you with your health and stuff too. And like when I went to rehab, I was underweight, and so they gave me like double portions for my food, and I gained some weight there. So it was good. good for me in a lot of ways. It was good for me in a social setting. It definitely got me out of the box that I was living in. Being in a small town and being able to relate with so many people. And when I was like a juvenile, I was like 17, they put me with the juveniles, and you're separated like the boys from the girls, so it was all, I was with all guys. I really enjoyed that experience though, and there were some Christian counselors too, and they'd speak of their faith and stuff. We actually had, Christian groups too. There were different groups that people could be in, and we had Bible group. So, and that was before I would consider myself saved, but I was into religion, I suppose. I saw good in religion. I'm almost to my destination. Today I'm going to be mowing. It's beautiful weather and it's dry enough, even though it's been raining the day before and stuff, but it's getting to where it almost needs to be mowed every week now, so that's great. I like it. It gets me out, it gives me exercise, gives me a few extra bucks, which I need, but and it's nice to get a few extra bucks weekly since I'm paid bi-weekly, for my main job. That's always rough. I mean, when you're making minimum wage, it kind of makes sense because you get more money bi-weekly, but it always stinks just to have to wait so long to get paid. It doesn't matter. So, I mean, either way, there's positives and negatives either way, but ideally, people like to get paid every week. It's easier to finance things that way, But I'm really glad that, the weather's good now. Hopefully get a lot done for the ministry, the next 6 months or whatever. I want to get out and exercise more. I've said that, the past few years, but I'm going to really make some efforts this time, so. Looking into getting a bicycle maybe tomorrow. Somebody's selling one for $50. It's a little dirty, but they said it works good. I don't know if I'm going to get that or not. Then there's an exercise bike that's like $30 that looks pretty good, and if it's quiet enough I might get that so I can use that in my apartment. I bought one for $10 that was pretty decent, but it squeaked a little bit. I don't think it was in as good as condition as this other one, so anyways, I'm here, so I'll upload this later. God bless, guys.